Welcome to the World Cup Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the west coast of the U.S., Josh Lander, joined by my mate across the pond, Dan Tracy. How are you today, Dan?
Yeah, very good, thank you. We've got an actual lull in tournament football. There's no football today, so I don't know what to do with myself. I'm lost. However, a very strong round of 16 in terms of picks. So if you were going along with us, hopefully you made a decent amount of money, because my predictions were at least 8 for 16 and all plus. So I think I'm up. I know I'm up. So yes, hopefully.
I know you're up.
Yes, I was just trying to downplay it a little bit. But yes,
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get even more winnings along the way between now and the final itself next Sunday.
Yeah, no, louder for the people in the back, Dan. You are. This is no time for humility. Let everybody know we've only got a few more rounds of World Cup action, so let's continue on. Like Dan said, make sure you follow along with these videos each and every day. That there are World Cup games. We're bringing you all of the matches that we're talking about here until the 18th. Also have thelines.com, where Dan has all of his great written content about all of these things we're talking about, all of his picks up there that he's also tweeting out as well before the matches and such. So make sure to continue to follow all those. We have our odds finder tool in there as well. You can use that to make sure you're getting the best juice back. A lot of different books offering different odds. Pretty great variety here for all these World Cup options. So we are looking at some more matches here in the quarterfinals now. This will be the first day of that on Fridays when we'll be kicking those off. We've got Brazil, Croatia, and then Netherlands and Argentina is the 11 a.m. game on the Pacific coast out here in the U.S. But we'll start with the first game of the day, Croatia and Brazil. Brazil minus 265 to win in regulation, Croatia plus 800, and then a draw at the end of regulation would be plus 400 as well. So good amount to choose from in here, Dan. The Croatians will not be scared of a Brazil side that looked absolutely unstoppable in their last match. So where do you start looking for value in this one?
Okay, I'll give you my second best bet first, and then I'll build to the best one at the end. So to start with, I'm going to avoid the three-way market and look for goals. And although Brazil have been fantastic in attack, there's absolutely no doubt about that. We spoke about them trying to click and when would they click, and they absolutely did against South Korea. So they can tick that one off. They're flying now. They're up to speed. Their defence has not been perfect. I mean, they have conceded in the last two matches, so they're not getting clean sheets. And I feel there might be a glimmer of hope for Croatia in terms of getting at least a goal. So I've gone for both teams to score and under 5 total goals, or under 5.5 total goals in terms of the full-time match after 90 minutes. You can get that at plus 138. So to keep things safe, I'm not predicting any form of winner, a tie. I'm not worried about the result. I just want goals in this instance. And as long as both teams score, I'll be very surprised if it becomes, I don't know, like a 4-1 or a 5-2, because Croatia's defence has been pretty solid. 2 clean sheets in the group stages against Morocco and Belgium. 1-0 against Japan, but that was 120 minutes of football. I mean, they are looking quite sturdy. Yes, they haven't quite got the legs that Brazil will have, and maybe even playing that extra time in the penalties is going to hamper them even more. So I'm not confident in Croatia winning at all. But for this first bet, I'm just worrying about goals. So if you fancy both teams to score and you want under 5.5, plus 138, there you go.
And I like that. And you're getting plus odds on that, obviously, because, if you are both teams score, all right, well, you've already set the line at at least 2 goals being scored. But you're not scared of 4 more goals coming in on a Croatian team that it's their defenses look great. Their midfield is really where they control the ball and make sure that, they have possession. But the age, to your point as well, is got to be a factor for Croatia, who doesn't have quite the same amount of young legs on the pitch as you'll see from Brazil, as obviously they continue to just throw piles and piles of attackers at you who are more than capable. So at any rate, Croatia's ability to control the sort of pace a little bit more and keep things in check. I think you like. Obviously, if Brazil go up 2-0 somewhat early in this match, you start to fear for it. But even in that case, like yesterday when that was the case with the Swiss going down huge 4-0 to the Portuguese, it still felt like maybe there was opportunity for a goal. You're up 4-0, and that's when you start to sort of feel a little bit more lax, I suppose, and you can get a little dinky goal in, like the corner that the Swiss scored on. So either way, even if Croatia does go down, they've shown resilience, and you do think that there's an opportunity for them to sort of be bringing the attack to Brazil at that point when they know that they're playing for their lives, which leads me to like a goal being scored by them, but by both teams as well. So you mentioned that's your second favorite. What is your favorite bet in this match then?
Okay, so that one was with BetMGM. This one is with DraftKings. And if you remember, I tipped Argentina to beat Australia with a band of scores. I'm going to go with exactly the same and kind of use the first bet's logic to feed into the second one. So if you remember, I've gone for both teams to score and under 5.5 total goals. If that comes good, this second one comes good because I can go for a Brazil 2-1 win, a 3-1 win, and a 4-1 win at plus 210. So if you do the maths there, you've either got a total of 3 goals, 4 goals, or 5 goals, and both teams are scoring, and it's under 5.5. So you can either have one or the other, or if you want to combine both, they're with separate sports books, but the same outcome will get you 2 winners here. This is at plus 210. So, you're looking at, more than 3-1 on your money overall if it comes good. So I'm sort of using the combination of one bet to feed into the second, which I don't usually do, but I feel it's the same kind of logic in that Brazil are going to have more goals than Croatia. They're probably going to open the door just a little bit, but not enough for Croatia to get anything. So in 90 minutes, I'm going for those 3 scores, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, plus 210, job done.
Job done. Call it. I like it. I like you still have some margin for error in here, and allow yourself the opportunity to win one or both bets for sure. Obviously, if your group's picks hit, then your all your other bets hit as well. So it's not really a doubling down, but it is giving yourself a little bit extra juice in a way that you're using some pretty solid game logic. I like Croatia to score, and that's really if you want to put your money on something that you can get some value back on, but you don't have to rely on the Croatians to be even even with the Brazilians at 90 minutes plus stoppage. Then I think you're finding a good bit of ways to sort of play it somewhat safe, but still fine, like you said, 2-1 on your money, better than one, even odds on the other bet there, the first one you mentioned. So I like all of that. I can't see 6 goals being scored in this game. The Croatians are definitely a lot more, tight knit than some of the other teams you've seen get blown out, like the Swiss the other day. So anything else you want to touch on in this game? As I do think it'll be a good match, but I think we're all ready for Brazil to continue working as well as they did in their last match. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that Richarlison at plus 175 to score any time is a great price. Now, Brazil are going to have a litany of opportunities to score. They're going to have a lot of players ready to score those kind of goals. So you're not going to get much in terms of Richarlison, but to get plus odds is still a great starting point for the game itself. And I feel that with the goal he scored against South Korea, this is a man brimming with confidence. He's almost, he has stolen the limelight from Neymar, hasn't he? So, why bet against that, really? Neymar at plus 120 doesn't really excite me. He probably will get a goal, but not enough for me to go, okay, here's my last £5, $5 in the betting account to go that way. So if I want to squeeze a bit more out of it, I'm going for Richarlison to score any time.
Yeah, he looks like the second coming of Cristiano Ronaldo, to be honest with you, the size and speed and skill that he has, and he's just living inside of the 18-yard box right now. So the fact that Neymar has shorter odds than Richarlison to score is wild to me. I would happily take Richarlison, even if he was the favorite to score a goal, but at plus 150 in some books, plus 170, I believe is the best you can get for him. Anytime scorer, if we believe there's going to be 3 to 4 goals possible for the Brazilians, you've got to believe he's going to be involved in the mix. So let's go to the other game that starts 11 a.m. here on the East Coast, which would be 2 p.m. for those of you on the I'm on the West Coast. On the East Coast, it's 2 p.m. For Dan, sometime in the evening. We won't even worry about GMT or anything like that right now. But Netherlands on the 3-way money line against Argentina. Both teams at plus odds here. Netherlands plus 260, Argentina plus 120. The draw at 90 minutes is actually plus 220. Pretty likely, it seems like it's a pretty potentially likely outcome anyway in this one. Netherlands looked really, really good against the U.S., as we all know, really only conceding that one weird goal off the toe there of the U.S. offender. So where do you start with this one in terms of value? I would also just add, in terms of just to advance and winning at any point in the game, Netherlands is plus 135 and Argentina minus 160. So maybe one of the games that we start looking at for even just the advance odds are worth talking about.
Yeah, I think I'll get to that in a moment. I'll just start with a goal scorer. So Lionel Messi, let's be honest, he has dragged Argentina to where they are at the moment. And yes, they beat Australia 2-1, but if it weren't for countless chances being wasted that Messi made, it could have been 4-5-1. So that's not quite telling the whole story. But Messi is also not only scoring, but he's opening the goal scoring most often than not. So you can get plus 150 if you're just feeling the any time. I'm going to be a bit more bold and go for plus 350 for him to score first, because I feel that the pattern that we're seeing, we've kind of said in this run-up of shows that kind of follow the noise of what we've seen already. And because he is opening the deadlock and all of that, you kind of feel, well, why go against it? And especially a plus 350. So I'll get to the outcome in a moment and the kind of value that you can find. But in terms of a goal scorer bet, I can't see anyone else in an Argentina shirt at the moment scoring, especially first, than Lionel Messi.
Agreed. The only threat to your bet there is that Messi creates something for somebody else by taking on three defenders and drawing the entire defense to him and then passing it off. But like you said, I like the idea of when something needs to happen, he's making it happen, right? As we saw in that last match where it was like, they didn't even look alive. There was no spark to their offense of any kind, in the last match. And now you're looking at a situation. And what happened? Messi comes in and really just a quick bit of brilliance and into the back of the net, through a couple defenders' legs on the ground in exactly Messi style. So why go against that happening again? Like you said, plus 350 for him to be the first scorer. That works for me. I'm interested in what you think about goals in general. Obviously, that impacts the opportunity to bet on a goal scorer. If you think there's going to be a few more goals and there's an over to be had, then you feel even more comfortable about it. But where does your sort of the value lie if you are looking at the total in this game?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a game which is full of goals. So under 2.5 is minus 175. There's no value there, but it just seems where it's going to go. Sometimes you have to just go with it. I mean, you could try and be clever and go for over 2.5. I've got it at plus 135, but I just don't see it. So why would I back it if I don't see it myself? And if the bookmakers are pointing to the direction that I feel it's going to go, sometimes you just have to take what's on offer. You'd love plus 100, but the bookmakers aren't silly. They rarely get it wrong in these instances. So, if you're sort of looking at, I don't know, over 3.5 to plus 350, it's too bold for me. You're kind of caught in the middle, aren't you? Because if you feel that under 2.5 is too skinny and over 3.5 is too much, then you're asking for a lot. And this kind of drills into the next point of my bets, because if you're going for under 2.5 goals, I feel it's going to be a tight half-time and a tight full-time, which you can get at plus 333. But also you could go for a draw and under 2.5 goals. That's probably where the real value is. So if you look at that, that is plus 260. So that's much better than just the minus on its own. If you are brave enough to go for the draw, plus 260 and under 2.5 goals, that's probably where you really want to go. And you mentioned the Netherlands to qualify. That's the value pick there, because when you look at it, with it going potentially to extra time, potentially to penalties, when it gets that far down the line, you don't really want to back the team on the minus odds. You always want to go for the team on the plus odds, because bar, extra time, penalties is a lottery. It's a bit of a cliche, but it could go any way. So when you're looking at that, you're kind of betting with house money, because you might as well go for the plus rather than the minus, because really all things are equal at that point, aren't they? You looked at Morocco, Spain. Spain absolutely, I wouldn't say battered them, but they had wave after wave of at least possession, but they never really offered a real focal point in attack. However, penalties, it meant for nothing, didn't it? They're just bad penalties from Spain. Morocco won. So in that instance, when you're looking at to qualify, if it does go to extra time, and it might be an in-play bet that shrinks a little bit, but it's still worth spotting that, as I say, once it gets to that 91st minute onwards, take the plus option.
Absolutely. I was just going to bring up the live option there, because watching the Morocco-Spain match, if you were following along at stoppage time, and Spain did most of their peppering of the keeper in stoppage time, to be honest, as they weren't really getting much, as you said, they ticky-tacky all over the field, leading to barely any shots even on goal for them against the Moroccan keeper. But then when they were in, the point is when they were in overtime for us here in the States, and we were looking at 2 15-minute periods. If you were looking at the live odds at that time, for Spain to win in that period was basically even odds. It wasn't even that good for them to score a goal in that overtime. But the penalty kicks were even odds, because once you get there, it's anybody's game. And the likelihood of scoring in extra time isn't quite that high. It's 30 minutes, you're exhausted. Maybe you have some subs on the field, but you still have plenty of players who have been on the pitch now for like 130, 140 minutes, something ridiculous, 120 minutes, whatever. So what we're looking at here is, the opportunity to sort of keep things closer, but bet on the underdog at that point, because it's the margin is so narrow at that point. The likelihood of it going to PKs is pretty high. Once you get to PKs, DKs, it's literally 50-50 unless you like one of these keepers a little bit better. So I love everything you're saying about this game staying close, things getting there. I think the Netherlands showed us that they can and do mean business, and that the Argentinians still have not looked buttoned up either on attack or in defense in any way. So I guess, any final thoughts on this one, knowing that we don't feel strongly about too many goals. We feel strongly about, not too many goals being scored, it being a close match, and the value being in finding some ways to bet Netherlands just to advance and potentially get ahead of that as well at plus 145. So we've thrown some good bit out here, but anything else you're looking at? Final thoughts on this one?
To be honest, I think I've covered all bases really. The bases which would be logical, we could always dig a bit deeper and sort of throw something wild into the ether, but I feel the central facet of this bet is going to be the tie. If you even fancy that, regardless of what happens in extra time or penalties, plus 210 is probably a great starting point. But if you're feeling just Argentina, plus 120 isn't bad, but I just can't see them winning in 90 minutes because the Dutch have been not a dark horse because they never are, but they've certainly flown under the radar, and I feel this could be the truest test for Argentina. So it's going to be a tight one in my opinion, and I feel that any bet which builds on the draw or the tie is where you need to be going.
Absolutely, and I would just add, if you are looking at a three-way money line bet of any kind, every bit of logic we've used has said it's going to be close, and if anything, Netherlands to just tip one in at plus 260 is way more valuable than the plus 120 for Argentina to do the same if we do feel it's as close to a 50-50 match as we're saying. So either way, that is all the time we have for today. I'm not even going to ask you what day of matches this is, Dan, because who knows? Our heads are spinning, but we're excited to be in the quarterfinals, I imagine. So continue to follow along. Dan has all of his great stuff on thelines.com and is tweeting out all this stuff during the match. A pretty good follow as well. Throws a couple dad jokes in there for you who like the British humor. So continue to follow along with us, and until we see you next, happy betting.